Cool. Are we good? Are we on?
Yep.
Hi, recording.
Yep.
Thanks for your patience. Thanks for coming along. It's really good to have you all here. Thank you to the After the Pandemic team for inviting us along to do this. We're delighted to be here. Yeah, really excited to introduce you to our incredible panel today. Today, we're going to be talking about reimagining, redesigning, rethinking, and for us, some of the creative qualities required for climate change. Creative qualities in creative industries, creative qualities in individuals and organizations, and we might even get a bit broader than that, and creative qualities in our communities and societies, if we can draw that parallel, but that's sort of where we're going today. I want to start off just by introducing myself and the panel. I'm David. I'm the co-founder of Social Shifters. We're a Scottish charity working internationally to support social entrepreneurs and environmental entrepreneurs in various ways. And one of the ways that we do that is a global innovation challenge. And we ran that last year and had 6,000 registrations from all over the world. So I'm going to give that a shameless plug because we'll be running that same competition next year. I'm hoping all of the panelists here will reapply for it, but it's going to be open to university students and young people broadly around the world. So there's prizes of up to $10,000, but there's also packages of startup support that we can offer for anyone who's got a very early stage idea. And we've got a wee punchy video that we can show you, which tells you a little bit about what we do and a bit more about the challenge.
Don't really allow them to make the positive change they want to. By introducing social emotional learning programs in schools and colleges, we can really make these children more emotionally intelligent.
We want to be a social catalyst, inspiring and leading social change.
That was open the challenge this year. So we're really all about bringing multiple sectors, businesses, coaches, mentors, digital platforms, and people together to support social and environmental entrepreneurship. So, and that's where these guys come in. So this is our wonderful group of panelists for the day. They're all working in the creative industries. They're all social, well, environmental entrepreneurs. All got interesting stories to tell. And we're going to have a conversation today, which is about the creative industries. It's about entrepreneurship and innovation, and it's about rethinking, reimagining, and redesigning our industries and our organizations and our communities. I'll hand over to the panelists now to introduce themselves, and they were quite adamant that they sat in the order that they were going to introduce themselves, which I was impressed by. So we should be in order from right to left. It should have been left to right, really, shouldn't it?
Hi everyone, my name is Mary Lowe. So I'm a freelance content marketer and systems practitioner based in Edinburgh, Scotland. I'm also one of the founders of Sustainable Fashion Scotland, which is why I'm here today. So we are a community-led social venture, and our main aim is to connect the fashion community in Scotland, as well as to accelerate collective action for a sustainable fashion transformation. So we do a lot of online events for the community to share knowledge and connect with each other and to enable collaborations. And we also do a lot of systemic research looking into opportunities for collective action for impactful systemic change. So it's very fun. We get to choose what we do a lot, but also a big scary challenge, but very exciting. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Elena. I founded Yaldi Games just last year. I'm developing a video game about sustainability and foraging, and cooking, and crafting. And well, the main selling point there is that it contains real life information. So after playing the game, you actually learn how to, make nettle syrup or strawberry and lime ice cream, and how to craft and make handmade paper and all of these things. So you can learn about plants and identifying them, and you learn about how to make things in real life, and how you can improve like on sustainability and how you can become more sustainable yourselves. And yeah, so in the game you can explore, forage, cook, craft. You can connect to the characters and listen to their stories. So if you know Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley and you like that, then that's pretty much what we're doing.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm the co-founder of Sweet. We are a social enterprise startup and have created the world's first reusable water bottle made from waste plant-based materials. So we take waste bamboo and wheat straw to create reusable products that are truly sustainable. And as a social enterprise, we use our profits to remove plastic from the ocean. We plant a tree with every sale, and we contribute to different wildlife causes. So that's me.
I'm Danny, and I run Reply Skateboards, and what we do is we recycle skateboards and use it in a sort of more sustainable way to basically make the life of a skateboard last longer. A lot of people probably would ask the question, how is skateboarding and sustainability sort of linked? And I suppose it's just making the lifestyle last longer. We do this in a sort of social way. We go and work in communities that don't have access to skateboarding, and we teach them about sustainability, creativity, and skateboarding within anything in deprived areas, east end of Glasgow, which is where Reply is based. And we've also done a lot of travelling to deprived countries such as Palestine, who don't have a network or infrastructure to recycle anything, and Nepal, who don't have an infrastructure, maybe a wee bit more than they do in Palestine, but it just helps to open those doors and ideas to people.
Hi guys, I'm Joanna. I'm the co-founder of Bamboo Bicycles. I'm based in Portugal, so I'm lucky enough that I'm here in Glasgow, and I'm really happy that I can share and have a nice chat today. So Bamboo Bicycles is a Portuguese manufacturer of bamboo bicycle frames. I co-founded the company with my brother. We're just giving the first steps. We got our inspiration while I was living in China. We fell in love with bamboo and with all the benefits and the potential that this material have. And we wanted to bring a product that is very relatable, right? So our frames are just made out of bamboo, hemp fiber, and eco epoxy. And yeah, we're giving the first steps, and I'm sure we'll be able to chat a little bit more about the project.
Joanna, you cycled from Portugal to get here, didn't you?
Well, maybe we have a plan. So yesterday, yeah, I'm here for COP, and yesterday, among some very interesting and inspiring persons, we were talking about cycling next year from Portugal to Egypt on a bamboo bicycles. No, I don't know if it's going to happen, but let's see. But no, I didn't cycle, but I brought a bicycle.
And one of your bicycles is going to be auctioned, I believe.
Exactly.
Right.
So when I brought a bicycle, it was also last minute that I had the chance to be here. We have it in exhibit in the Blue Zone, so it was a really good opportunity. And on Sunday, while we're having and watching a play from a lot of the side events happening, I really got inspired and very emotional for one of the organizations that work with migrants. So we've decided to auction the bicycle and then give the money back to them in the end. So still didn't figure out how and when are we going to do that, but it's going to happen. So then I hope you guys can share as well and help us to get the most of it.
Cool. So we've got an incredible group of people here today doing pretty interesting stuff in the creative space, all with their own unique take on yeah, climate change and how to impact it. I guess where I wanted to begin today, and by the way, this should be a conversation rather than a presentation. So if anyone does have any questions for anyone of the panelists at any point, just make some kind of visual signal to me. You can wave or stamp your foot in the ground, whatever you fancy, and I'll stop and I'll go to you. But I thought a good place to start would be passion, and taking passion to action, which is what we essentially try and do with social shifters. There will be interesting stories and places where that kind of passion was ignited for each of you. And it'll be very unique to you as individuals. So I wanted to start there, whether it was your interest in creative subjects and creative industries, or whether it was what sparked your passion and interest for the organizations you're now working for. And I'm going to go back to the end. We're not going to go left to right or right to left all the time, but we will this time.
So my kind of story, how I shifted into sustainability is when I was younger, I really wanted to be a fashion designer. I don't really know why. I just love the creativity of it, and about how you can express yourself and your identity. I studied fashion management at Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen. It was a really good course, and that was about 5-6 years ago. And I think we had one 1-hour lecture on sustainability in the whole 4 years, which wasn't great since fashion is really awful and horrible. I then started volunteering for a social enterprise. It doesn't exist anymore. It was called Alicast. And what they did, they gifted bespoke clothing parcels to survivors of domestic abuse and women in COVID crisis using retail surplus stock. So one of the biggest issues in fashion is we just make too many clothes and there's lots of waste. So they took the stock that hadn't been sold yet, brand new, and gave it to women in COVID crisis. And that was the kind of shift for me where I realized that fashion could be a force for good. And then from that, I just realized I still want to work in fashion, I still love it, but I don't want to be part of the problem. I don't want to work in it while it still exists in the way it does. So now I try to be part of the solution, and that's kind of where Sustainable Fashion Scotland emerged from, and not just me, a few of our founders as well. And we just realised there is so much potential and incredible talent in Scotland, and we want to make sure that those people are supported and that they are able to work together so we can create even bigger impact.
Was there a big gap there, Mary, when you came up with this concept? Were you addressing a need that there was just nothing there at the time?
So for my undergrad dissertation, which was 2019, I made an ebook about consumer behaviour recommendations, and I interviewed lots of people in Scotland doing amazing work. And that was when I another light bulb moment for me, where I realised these people weren't really speaking to each other, and it wasn't because they didn't want to. They all wanted to work together. There just wasn't a network or infrastructure set up. So that's kind of where we came in. And my master's research was looking at what that role for us could be as a sort of facilitator. And I made a nice model, community action stuff. So we're kind of building on from that. But yeah, it's not about us going in with all the solutions. It's about us enabling others to, fulfill their potential for impact. Yes.
Does the industry doing enough in Scotland? Were you going to ask a question?
No.
Is the industry doing enough in Scotland? The theme for today is about local change impacting globally. I think pretty clear that globally, that's right on time. Globally, the fashion industry is not doing enough. Locally, is that changing?
Yeah, I think locally in Scotland, there's just some really innovative people. It's just that it's very small scale, and it's not that they all need to become multi-billion-dollar businesses. But they just need more support to make it possible. A lot of the stuff around like repair and reuse, the government says they want to support that, but then they don't put any money or resource into it. So they're not really backing up their words with action. So I think that's one of the biggest issues, is actually just investment and support their really specific solutions.
I guess resources. We feel the same well, and in Portugal is a little bit that there's this, all this background of, we want to empower and support startups and new ideas, but then on practical terms, all that support and resources don't really go to us. So then we have to find our way ourselves. And that's why I'm super happy, and I guess for me as well, coming here to Glasgow and interact with, so many different persons with the same focus, it creates an opportunity for collaboration and to, you know, and to increase our impact. So I think it's really good to have these conversations, and so that people as well out there can see, you know, we can start somewhere and then step by step we can grow and have our impact. Yeah. But the challenge is the same.
Do you feel like that passion is being, and that enthusiasm is being felt broadly? Because I know a lot of people I've spoken to around COP, the passion is gone, and there's a great deal of skepticism, and I would even go as far to say pessimism around the value of COP broadly. And
I think it is super important to bring it down to a sort of community level, because there's only so much that we can see what the leaders who are making these changes. Again, I'm kind of in the middle. I might be pessimistic, I might be optimistic. You sort of have high hopes because people are coming to meet and they've agreed this big thing's happening. But I think drawing it back from that at a grassroots level, it's super important to try and make the changes and sort of innovate and do what we can with obviously the theme of sustainability. And I think it's happening in Glasgow a lot, whether people see it or agree with it. I think Scotland is doing quite a lot in terms of grassroots level and community-based innovation.
Working around the systems and structures, or working with them?
I think in terms of support, in terms of startup, working with them quite heavily, like Firstport, we've done quite a lot with. I know things like the Prince's Trust may not be sort of sustainably focused, but there's a lot of sort of young people support, whether you're below the age of 30 or even just sort of good ideas. A lot of people sort of get behind it as long as you're confident to do so yourself.
Yeah, I mean, for us, that's something we definitely experienced. So going back how we started, myself and my co-founder started the business when we were both still in our last year of, I was in college and Jake was in university. And I mean, we were just living off a student loan, and we had this idea for this business, but we had no funding behind us. We weren't in a position where we had family members that could pay for it or anything like that. So we had this idea, but we didn't have any idea of how to make it a reality and any finance behind us. So, I mean, the first thing we done was went out to as many public sector organizations as we could, organizations like Firstport, and, you know, told our idea to them, and the support we had was incredible. In fact, we actually fully funded our business off of that grant funding and through a pre-sale model. And so the support is definitely there. I think during COVID, a lot of it has been reduced or stopped, unfortunately, but I have hopes that that will come back. And I mean, if it could work for businesses like ours, I definitely think, you know, that can help make it easier for other businesses. So I think it's definitely out there. It's finding it. It's not easy. It took us 2.5 years to, you know, be able to get to that point to have enough money behind us to launch. So.
What was it that kept you going? What was the spark of it, or the passion that got you through the 2.5 years when it probably at times felt like you were going nowhere?
I think it's like a couple of things. Maybe for one, it never felt like it was that long. Just all of a sudden wake up one day and think, wow, I've been doing this a long time.
Time goes fast.
Yeah. And also, I think just having nothing to lose, really, to be honest, for us. And we just didn't really want to stop until it was a reality. Every day you're a little bit closer, and so you just think, okay, I just need to do this, and then I just need to do that, and I'll be there. And that's the way it worked out for us.
Yeah, so time just goes by too quickly, right? I started the company last year, and I've benefited a lot of the support system from Scotland. That was amazing. I won Commonwealth Creative, and then Innovate UK, and then the Edinburgh Tech Fund and Edinburgh Innovations, like from the University of Edinburgh, is also really amazing. And I hope that every university will have that kind of support system for startups within the university, because that's where a lot of the creativity and the magic happens. From like my personal passion have always been games, but I don't know if you're aware that the games industry is of course very heavily male and very heavily also well, kind of more like destruction focus. So I don't, right now there are some titles in that space looking towards sustainability and environmental friendliness, but otherwise all the life simulators before were all about, oh, let's hack down these trees. You know, we need that wood, and so that forest goes, it's gone, okay. And so it's that kind of mentality, and it feels like that really needs to change because you know, we kind of need to bring up our children with games that are more respectful of nature, because then, you know, then they'll be more like aware of sustainability and more connected to nature. And so, yeah, that's really where the passion sits for me, like combining my passion for games. And then when I discovered foraging, you know, how much fun that is, you know, looking for mushrooms and plants, and then, you know, making these amazing things, just combining them and making a game that can hopefully, yeah, educate on a global level, because games can reach like a hell of a lot of an audience. 2.6 billion gamers, and we can get others who aren't really considering themselves gamers yet, but they like cooking or crafting or nature, also to play the game and then just to learn through it. Yeah, we could create a really nice network of knowledge sharing, which I think goes back to what needs to happen. It's like connecting all of these dots across the world.
Link it, yeah. Exactly. Well, I think maybe I can share my passion because it's not that linear. It was not that obvious. So my background was really different, and I was working in the last 6 years in China on food and beverage industry. Nothing to do, but then after a while, I started to shift into plant-based protein, and I started to implement you know, a little bit that product catalog in the company. So that was where my sustainability as well passion started to grow. And at the same time, I bumped into bamboo bicycles in China. I was really curious. I would never, you know, it was the first time, and I was really curious to know more about it. I started reading about bamboo. I started seeing how much potential it has and how it's not known, you know, and in Europe mainly, but besides chopsticks and basic things. And yeah, lucky enough, I have a brother that is an amazing product designer. So I challenged him to why not build bamboo bicycles in Portugal. And so in one of those challenges, we built 3 bicycles and we did the Camino de Santiago. The bicycles were not perfect, but we did it and we got to the end. And yeah, and then it was on a very, so I think on ours, it was a very evolved in a very organic way. So it was not in the beginning was, oh, we really want to make this business. It was really curiosity, passion about the material, finding a way of, you know, having a product that can be relatable to people and that you can really understand how the material works and how bamboo works. And then it's been on a very organic, evolving to the point that, yeah, that this year we're here and we were exhibiting one of our products at COP as a result of, you know, having a construction or having something made out of bamboo. And yeah, so that's a little bit. So this just to say that sometimes it doesn't need to be, you know, I guess your passion for life. Sometimes passions change. And in my case, I was working for 10 years already, and I had achieved, I guess, my goals when you get out of university. And then I think I had a lack of maybe purpose, or I had a lack of, I needed something else. I needed as well, I felt that I needed something with impact. And somehow bamboo came along and it makes sense. And now it's all about bamboo all the time. And I hope it will grow. And there's maybe a few partnerships here as well.
Yeah.
We've been talking. So yeah.
Something going on with bamboo.
So yeah.
No, I think, and obviously our story was like really very, very similar. When myself and my co-founder first started, I was studying beauty therapy to become a beauty therapy lecturer. So absolutely nothing to do with the product or the business or anything. Jake was studying psychology and sociology. So yeah, I mean, and we kind of stumbled upon it when we were seeing, so I mean, as part of a client's treatment, after beauty treatment, you know, you would go get them a drink of water, and it unfortunately would be in those little plastic cups from the filter. And so I just would see, you know, at the end of the day, we'd have this bin of like all these plastic cups. And then a lot of students would some would come in with reusable water bottles, but others wouldn't. And you would think, you know, why isn't everyone just using a reusable bottle? And our market research led us to see that, in fact, there was a gap in the market for one that was truly sustainable, practically designed. So of course there was just mainly plastic, steel and glass bottles. These all have different flaws. Might be the glass, you know, you could drop it quite easily and that's that gone. Plastic, you would get moldy kind of ness around the bottom, it smell quite fast, things like that. And steel is quite heavy if you dent it when it drops, or you can have a metallic taste. And so that led us into finding something different and very, very similar to you. Bamboo comes along.
Yeah.
You just think like, wow, this is amazing. And we incorporated some wheat straw as well, just to keep the integrity a bit stronger. And yeah, it's just amazing how things pop up and not on your path at all. I mean, if that didn't come across, we would probably have kept on those same paths. So.
But I think you also need to be available for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes, and I think that's about fashion, it's sometimes we're so into our routine, into our life, into our society routine,
Yeah.
and things and passions just come along and we just put it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to be open to it. And then when we are, then yeah. Beautiful things happen.
Beautiful things like not so subtle product placement.
Got to get in there.
I'm really interested in, you know, there's a real creative industries flavor to today. Like we're upstairs doing lots of fun stuff. I'm interested in, or to explore with you, how your own industries have responded to your products and your solutions, because I guess you're all working with consumer products in things like sustainable fashion. That's becoming maybe more broadly recognized and accepted. I'd imagine when you started that, Mary, it was much less so. Same potentially with bicycles in that market, or any other types of consumer product, gaming industry in particular, with the male dominance and the types of games that are typically churned out. And this is a question to anyone: how are your industries, your creative industries, responding to essentially a challenge, you know, challenger product, challenger brand that completely kind of breaks the mold of what that industry would typically create and produce? Support, or do they look down on it a bit?
It's an interesting one specifically for me, because I know skateboarding is quite out there. It's quite unique. It's almost like a niche, and I have a niche within that niche. But I certainly think, from what I have started doing with Reply, is it's almost been quite a catalyst to change within the industry. I've worked with, well, I'm currently working with the main retailer of skateboards called Route One, who are based all throughout Europe. And they've started a scheme, which basically means if you bring your old skateboard in, you get money off a new one. All the old ones come to me, and that's encouraging a lot of other people within the industry to start being more sustainable. There's a lot of sort of numbers involved within skateboards, as far as they're all made of wood. The biggest cause of deforestation within certain types of wood in various countries across the world is skateboard production, which surprised me, and it also surprises a lot of people. But in terms of that sort of catalyst, in terms of creativity, I think a lot of people are now really sort of being like, right, okay, like bamboo, skateboards are quite a solid material. You can make some amazing things. I've seen people actually make bikes out of them. I've seen people make sculptures. There's a lot of artists getting involved. We're actually running an exhibition at the moment, which is raising money for the Environmental Justice Foundation. And we've got 70 artists from across the world, some quite big names, Turner Prize winning artists. And we actually gave Banksy a skateboard, which is massive, but he's not come back with it yet. But I'm not surprised about that. Other than that, we've got a guy called Shepherd Fairy. I don't know if anyone knows who Shepherd Fairy is, but he's quite a prolific artist in terms of creativity. And it's just nice to see people using their sort of realms of creativity to sort of put it in the one place, really. And that's how it's worked for me more than anything.
What about others? How have people in your industry responded to what you're doing? Have you had a support response, or because I'd be really surprised if you've all had broad support from within your industries, given the industries that you're working within.
But I will share later.
I think for us, because we work mainly with smaller businesses, or we only launched in February 2020, so just before the pandemic, it's been mainly online, which is like fun, but we've had really good support because we were working with local communities, and even when we had online events, there was people that would join from Shetland and be like, wow, this is amazing, I can get involved now, because all the events before were in Glasgow and Edinburgh. So that's been really nice. And like there was a 70-year-old woman that was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to leave my house again because of COVID and stuff. So we've had really good feedback in that. And I think the biggest thing for us is actually just giving these people like hope and the motivation to go on, because a lot of social startups or small sustainable businesses can feel quite isolated, like even us. But just having that network is really important. We have been talking with like policymakers recently too, with Fashion Revolution Scotland. They're a really amazing team as well. So we've joined forces, which is good for that. I think that we've not really spoken to bigger brands, I guess, in fashion, even maybe things like the British Fashion Council. I met the CEO there on Monday very briefly, but very London centric. So there's still not a kind of big push in Scotland, I guess, for sustainable fashion, although there are some bigger companies, and I do know the CEO of Johnson's of Elgin, for example, and they are willing, but yeah, I'm not totally sure from the response, because I guess we're working mainly with smaller companies so far, so because we're quite young, so we're still to find out if there will be major pushback or not. But it has been hard with policy, just because, well, first of all, they just don't have an understanding of fashion at all. Like, apparently, I wasn't in this meeting, but a male politician came with like his rainbow suspenders on. It's like, we're talking about fashion, like, so it's just very frustrating. Like, every meeting you go into, you have to be like, this is what fashion is, this is what sustainability is, and it would be nice to push past that so we can actually get some work done. It's more impactful.
I thought rainbow suspenders were in. Perhaps not.
I mean, for us, we've had pretty good response. It definitely, we have an area of education needed about, of course, it's a new material. I mean, it's the world's first, so you're going to have questions, and we try to educate as much as possible. But it actually, the positive feedback led to another arm of our business where we help other companies or other startups with it. You know, they might have an idea for a product and they want to make it out of our materials. So that's become a kind of another arm of the business of subcontracting our material, basically. And then it's really interesting because you get to see such amazing ideas come up, or you get that shift where, you know, there might be a company who wants to make a kid's product out of plastic, and then they see this material and they think, oh, well, like I could make it much more sustainable. And then we get to be a part of that journey. So I think, yeah, I mean, it takes time, like anything new is going to take time before, you know, mainstream accepts it, but we're on that journey, I think.
Yeah, well, I think for us, and we're talking about, I think on the overall, the reception is good in terms of you know, potential clients, or when we show the product and our ideas to the market, because it's different, it's original, and because there's already other products out there, but it's original. But then when we go and talk with the industry, with the cycling industry and with the manufacturers, and then we've been talking with them as well, they're very skeptical, because bamboo is still a product and a material that it's not very well. There's a lot of research undergoing. There's no standards. There's still a lot of norms that need to be done. There is no bamboo bicycle industry per se. So there is just very, very niche of small workshops. And what we want to do is really to bring that a little bit more to the communities, to really give people the chance to try and to see, you know, that it's not just because it's beautiful, it's elegant. Of course, then bamboo, you know, it grows in tubes, so it's perfect for a frame, but it's also really good for the riding experience, because bamboo is flexible. So it really absorbs the vibration. So we really want to, and it's all about education as well regarding the material. So I think we're in this mix between, well, excitement, but then the industry will see it as like a piece of art rather than a bicycle that you're going to. So our goal or our dream is that when you guys are going to choose a bicycle in the future, you'll have a carbon one, aluminum, steel, and a bamboo as an option in your head, you know, and then you have the different, you know, you ideally will have a comparison about, you know, the impact in the environment in terms of production, and then you'll have, you know, a report on performance, and then you can choose based on that. So that's where we want to bring the bamboo bicycles to.
Yeah, I suppose for me it's a bit, my industry is like really big and yeah, very male dominated. So only 14% of people working in the industry are women. And so when I meet publishers, it's always men sitting with me. And then all the usual games in that genre often have like a fighting element to it. So and we're actually, you know, trying to go completely violence free. And yeah, it often feels like there is a lot of support actually for sustainability. It's actually quite nice. So people are saying when they see that you know, for us, you're not going to cut down trees, you're going to cut like wind fallen trees, so trees that are already fallen. That's actually, you know, they like that idea. But then they feel like maybe something's missing from the gameplay, and then maybe we need to add more to essentially even out the fact that, you know, fighting is the thing. And I mean, yeah, I feel like whenever I pitch to a publisher, it's always easier if there's a woman on the other side as well, because it's just, there are just very different play styles between men and women, and about, you know, what each person is looking for. And my audience are definitely like leaning towards women, and it would be much easier for me to pitch to a woman because that would be my audience, and so that can be hard a lot of times. Also, a lot of publishers are, you know, in their portfolio focusing on certain types of games, and a lot of them have to do with violence. So a lot of publishers just wouldn't be a good case for us to approach. So that's how that's really doing. But I mean, the games industry is still a very nice space, lots of really cool, interesting people. And I feel like there's positive change when it comes to diversity. And I think that diversity is going to drive the need for more sustainability and more games that can actually, you know, add value to people's lives outside of.
I was going to pause there actually. Yeah.
Just kind of following on from that, Anna, final year product design student, and I noticed looking at this panel, it's a female heavy, which is kind of nice to see because it's often quite a male heavy industry. And kind of, have any of you guys faced any sort of backlash as such, or kind of a male is presenting a similar product? And that kind of, have you faced any of that gender bias, or are you kind of seeing it?
I mean, I've had it a few times. Yeah. So one time I was going to meet an investor, my co-founder, and he said to me something along the lines of, "Oh, you're I thought you look like you'd be much more subordinate than I thought you were." Yeah, and and so yeah, just taking appearance and things like that. Instead of, and it, you know, I just knew the whole time that he just wasn't listening to a word I was saying. I find a lot of the time as well, if you're in a conversation and my co-founder's there who's male, they'll always direct the conversation to him instead of me. And I'm like, I am here. So I mean, there's a huge amount of work to be done there. But yeah, there's a lot of support for women in business now, in the past year or two, I would say. So we're getting there, but wow, sometimes you can meet them.
Yeah, I guess there's definitely a lack of respect sometimes. Yeah. So bicycle industry, it's completely man dominated, and when I moved back now to Portugal, we started to we're really small. There was, you know, a lack of components everywhere, so we had to really go to each factory one by one. So in the beginning, I was going with my brother, but then there's a time that I was just going by myself, and I remember everyone looking at me, "Why are you doing what are you doing here?" But there is definitely this focus a lot in appearance, and this compliments that you don't really want or need to hear it, and but I guess if you sometimes, I'm not going to say that we need to be, maybe strict is not the word, but if if you show your value and if you're focused and if you really know what's the message you want to, and then with time they will start to respect. But you will always have to listen sometimes and just don't, or sometimes answer if you have to. I did sometimes.
They're interesting stories on that front.
Mine's a bit different because I'm in fashion, so, but also, top of all these big brands is white men. So, and we still get, and the policy, people, a lot of the people from the government are male as well. So straight away, they just don't understand it, they don't take it seriously, which is really frustrating. I was going to say something else, I forgot now.
Is it too risky? Because there's no whole card.
Yeah, no.
Speak your mind.
No, I can't remember. Maybe I'll come back to it.
Well, maybe I can add something,
Yeah.
because I just, because one of the things that I feel sometimes is that when, and especially because this is, our product, it's something new, it's different, and I don't know, our business strategy is also maybe a little bit different than other projects that are out there. And there is this, when you're talking, there's like this, they don't really follow. It's more like, oh, well, this is just like, like a part-time, or this is not really a proper business idea. So, and that sometimes can make you, doubt of yourself. It's kind of sometimes not easy to keep believing and keep the motivation. And a startup, I guess, we all have ups and downs. But again, if you're surrounded with, you have a good support system as well, and if you're driven and if you're really focused, then you have to learn, I guess, how to answer to this comments and approaches on a really intelligent and smart way, and then they will see. It's like, then you show it and you do it, and then they will, I guess, with time. But yeah, you got it. Give you some time.
This has happened to me, but someone that I know said that basically they had more luck reaching out, signing off their emails as a man, like a man's name, or a name you would assume would be a male name. And then just to get their foot in the door, like they sent an email as themselves as a woman, not heard back, a month later as a man and got a reply in the day. So, and then you can just I'll just pass it on to my co-founder, who's myself, but I wouldn't take it. So it's not great that you have to do that, but potentially.
Do you ever kind of find yourself like numbing yourself or kind of putting this blank over? I know you said about the emails. So like personally, when I'm pulling together a portfolio, I'm never gonna pick what color I think is best. It's always dark green is always my go-to. That's very masculine. Do you ever find yourself, or are you just kind of unapologetically you hope for the best?
I think for fashion, like even the word fashion, people just don't get oh well, fashion sounds frivolous, but we're trying to kind of reclaim that. We don't. People are like, why don't you just say clothing? Like it's not just clothing. So yeah, I don't want to reduce it to that, I guess, because it is important for our culture and stuff. So yeah, I guess I feel quite lucky that we're able to do that, and we do have support. I understand some people maybe aren't able to be themselves and be as bold, but for us, because we are able to, I think it is important that we just push forward with that and make people take it seriously. So it is tough, but I think if you're able to do that, it's important to try so that others can take up that space as well.
Yeah, definitely be you. Like, don't be anyone else. Yeah, I think that's how you as well, you captivate, and you can get really honest opportunities because you're sharing who you are and what your passion. So definitely be you.
And people will always have comments. I mean, the amount of times I've heard, "Oh, lovely girl, cute little side business," like
Exactly.
It's like, would you say that to a man? Probably not.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you get used to it. But I think just don't take it on the chin and think, well, I'll show you one day. So
Good question. Any others?
I think just to add to that stuff, there's a great book called The Authority Gap, and the things you said about the emails, there's companies that have made up fictional male co-founders. And as you say, just getting these responses, not completely. But that authority gap doesn't just exist in the minds of men, it exists in the minds of women. And I think that that's really difficult to have to continually re-evaluate our own positions on that as well, and make sure that we value our own voices as much as we value other people's voices. And I think that's something that I certainly haven't done.
We're moving into this territory of qualities, and so I do want to kind of continue with that and bring it to that idea of technical skills and human qualities, which is where we're trying to go here with our conversation about creative industries, social and environmental entrepreneurship and innovation, and local impact and change leading to bigger global impact and change. So I guess I'll put it back to the panel again. In terms of the work that you do, why you've got to where you've got to, what are those? I always think the human qualities are more interesting than the technical skills, but go where you want to go with it. What are those kind of human traits and human qualities that you've needed to get you where you've got to?
For me, I've been sort of in and out of sort of almost taking it seriously at some point, because you sort of feel a bit sort of demotivated when you sort of maybe get knocked back from grants or support, or even the sort of business side of things. If you take your idea and someone's just like, it's not going to work for us, yourself having that open mind and that sort of determination and motivation is, you just got to keep going, because opportunities pop up and they can be tiny and turn into something huge. And that's something that I've noticed over the past couple of years specifically as well. And just not saying no to things that aren't, like, yeah, just trying to say yes to as many things as I possibly can, and they snowball and work out for you, is what I've noticed.
For me, creating the game really comes down to, I suppose, human traits of curiosity, and then in general creating like that connection to nature. So I'm really curious. I'm always asking questions. Just ask how that product was created in detail, because I feel like that is just super interesting. And because of me having that human trait, that's what I'm trying to encourage with the game as well. When people play the game, they'll be learning lots of things, and then maybe they'll be asking questions. So, like, can I make a syrup with that plant too? If I haven't found this yet in the game, but I know that I can make a syrup from green nettles. And so, is that same process possible to make it with this plant, and something like that? Because I noticed that I'm asking myself these questions now too. Like, can I make my own shampoo? Like, I saw a great recipe with like conquerors and coconut milk, and then you can make your own shampoo essentially. And then the same goes for anything like face oil and face creams. Like, how much can we actually make ourselves? Because that was really cool for me to discover, like, thing that you could make. And so yeah, for me it's all about being curious and connecting to nature and having that empathy with nature, and like really connecting to what our local surroundings and also globally what's happening, because I feel like that's the purpose of all these documentaries, is to create empathy for the situation with climate change, and clearly, yeah, it's all about getting that to the people, so that it creates these feelings and these qualities.
Curiosity, empathy,
yeah, connection to nature. I mean, I don't even know if we can like make that a human quality, but like, yeah, it's a connectivity to things, I suppose. Like, feeling connected to your surroundings actually makes you care, because you're feeling as if you're part of something. And I think that's a really positive and powerful feeling.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, resilience, then a ton of interpersonal skills, because in the end you're doing things with people around you, whatever is a co-founder, clients, suppliers. It's all about people in the end. So you really need to be able to, I think, being a good communicator is really, really important as well, because you can have the best idea, but if you don't know how to communicate and how to engage whatever's clients, partners, investors, it's going to be really, really difficult. So yeah, there's like, I think a lot of human qualities, but definitely those are like, you know, some key ones as well, for me in order to move on.
I was going to add about, I don't know if it's maybe human, maybe technical, maybe a mix, but like I really like systems change and systems theory. So I've done a lot of research or some research into systems thinking principles and how we apply that to our work, but like not just to the work, but ourselves and changing our mindsets as well. So one of the biggest things for me is having that ability to zoom out and zoom in and kind of do that throughout your work. So zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, the bigger landscape of the industry, gaining an understanding. So whether that's through like market research, or just like talking to people that you're working with, and you know, being able to understand that qualitative feedback as well is really important, not just numbers, because that's only the surface level sort of thing, I guess. So like getting that understanding, but then zooming in to saying, you know, like this is me, this is who I am, what skills do I have, what are my strengths, where are my passions, where can I have the most impact, and then that in your like organization as well, like, you know, what capacity do we have, because you can't do everything and you don't need to do everything. And no one's life mission is to solve climate change. That's the quotes in my head every day. And that's, you know, occasionally we probably all get overwhelmed a lot of the time, thinking like, oh, I should be doing more, or why isn't this working, it's taking ages. But yeah, I think being able to then zoom out and be like, actually there's lots of people doing other things and I'm doing the best I can, and we are having an impact here, even if we can't really count it in numbers. That's something also hard with social impact measurement. So I think being able to zoom out and zoom in and, you know, sit with that and feel calm with that is a really good skill to make sure you can keep going, because you don't always, things don't happen as fast as you'd like them to, but it's all every day you are creating change, like every action you take. So
yeah. So I guess yeah, learning how to say no as well, because I'm learning.
Hannah just says yes to everything.
Yeah, that's I was like that's one of the things I was going to quote again.
Yeah, to a certain degree, I
Yeah,
suppose.
I guess so. I think it's more a yes on the sense, like, you know, when you're creating something new and something that, you know, there's a lot of curiosity around it. There's this tendency just to say yes, because we are afraid of missing opportunities, and then maybe this is the chance. And yeah, maybe in the beginning you do have to kind of, you know, say yes to a lot of things, but then saying yes to everything sometimes can lead you to lose focus. And because there'll be so many opportunities, you know, we've been, it's just, but we've been, you know, now there's this project in Thailand that someone wants to do with us and this and that. But if we're going to say yes to all of that, we're going to lose the focus of what we want to do and start doing. And we're two persons, so we cannot really be everywhere. So I think learning to say no, or at least to put on hold and communicate it in the right way, saying, hey, you know what, I would love to do that, but this is not the timing. Maybe in 6 months from now, we'll be able to. So I think this honesty as well and transparency of what can we do as a startup, what are our goals, and, you know, protect a little bit our, you know, our strength and our mental health, and all, you know, have the energy, because it's not easy sometimes, and we all do. Yeah, we feel overwhelmed most of the times, but it's in a good direction.
We're coming towards the end of the time that we have, unless my watch is fast, which is sometimes is because I'm late a lot. Are we coming to the end? A couple of minutes. But we're kind of going to where I was hoping we would finish, which is kind of the qualities and advice that you might give to anyone in the audience who has got a notion to do something along these lines, has an idea, or the beginnings of an idea. So you've talked a lot about the qualities that are important, but I sometimes think it's good to frame it around a challenge, or a big challenge that you faced and had to overcome. We've not got time for everyone to give that, but does anyone have something front of mind, a challenge that you've overcome, or a piece of advice that you would give? Yeah.
Mine is just to ask for help. I think especially women there's a lot of struggles, and just, you know, oh, I don't know if they want to. Just do it. Like, the worst that'll happen is they'll say no. And actually, a lot of people out there do want to help you if you're doing a good thing. So just send that email, pick up the phone. You'd really be surprised at how many people will come back for yes. And you can't do it alone, so you need people to work with you.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Like aim high, because the worst that can happen is they'll say not interested, and then you're in the exact same position that you are. But 9 times out of 10, from my experience, people have come back and said, this is a really interesting project or idea that you have. Let's help you develop it, sorry. And it helps. So aim high.
Yeah, and even if the feedback is negative, at least you know that's not the direction maybe you should go, and it will make you think you're not going to lose time. So I guess as well, I feel that as a woman, and I feel that mainly in Portugal, when you ask for help or when you show something that you don't know, it's a sign of weakness. But I'm learning how to don't see it that way. But it's always good, I guess, to find mentors, you know, someone that can inspire you. That's amazing. And I have one now that it's like, you know, it's really, really good. And it gives you, you know, even sometimes on a half an hour conversation, it just, you know, gives you energy for like a few more months. So I guess, yeah, just to keep going as well. And if you have an idea on the back of your head for a while, just try it, you know, but maybe plan a little bit before, but just, I think it's always better to regret what we try to do than that you regret something that you never tried. So.
And use the support system like that you have in universities and in general, or like the business trust and all of these competitions. And
don't worry about what you don't know. You know, you're not going to know everything, and don't worry if you think, oh, I didn't study product design and I wish I'd done that, and I don't know how to design a product. Like neither did we knew nothing like that. So you'll pick it up, you just become a sponge and absorb it all, rinse out what you don't need, and you'll get there.
That's good advice. Ellen, I was waving there because
social system.
we're one of the support systems. We're just one of many. I think that's all we've got time for today. So just wanted to thank you all for coming. Thank the After the Pandemic team for inviting us along. The Connection through Napier University Red Triangles, Stratford Union for having us in here. You can clap now if you. Of speakers, honoured to share the stage with you today. And, do look out for the Global Innovation Challenge next year. If you have an idea and you're looking for support, money, mentoring, or whatever, come and speak to us. You can follow us if you're interested. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
For having us.
No problem. Thank you.
You're right.
Yeah, just to be cool. I've had a like negative.
It's when you went.
You told loads of them to stop.
Yeah,
I love types of like
I know.
Yeah.
Danny, I was going to copy.
Yeah, I know.
But you mentioned it.
I mentioned it. Yeah. Yeah.
What we could do is,
That's fine.
have you got any promo material?
I can, yeah, I've got some like, I've got like an auction tomorrow night thing, which is like the end of it, which we're sort of welcoming everyone to. Everyone can come. It's more, yeah.
Like on site.
So it's a company called Forum Auctions, and they are the official auctioneers for Banksy stuff. So that's how we gave Banksy a skateboard. But they've just done this thing pro bono because it's a charity-based thing.
Yeah, because I'm trying to find out how do I do an auction on the bike here. Because I'm leaving, but I'll leave the bike and I'll have to do it in Scotland.
You know, you're the second person that's asked me that question today. How do you do? There is like online auction sort of things. I'm not entirely sure how much they cost, but I suppose if you're doing it for charity, you could like just reach out to auction houses and just sort of give them your pitch, and it's pretty straightforward.
Price and just sell it, but the idea was really to create.
Yeah.